And there's 7 things, not, and these things, this is not an exhaustive list of things that Black people want, but 7 things that I've seen in studying Black history in Black political and behavior is we've always, number one, we're concerned about our safety, right? Our right to exist, to draw breath on planet Earth, not to be menaced by the slave master who beats us to death, or a someone, if we manage to escape the plantation, a slave hunter who's going to brand us and mutilate us, cut off our toes, our hands. In other words, our bodily autonomy is an issue. It's just fundamental, right?
Mhm.
And in this day and time, most sharply played out in, are y'all going to stop the police from killing us? Are we really going to ever get some justice? Are we going to come to some understanding that we have a right to live? You see, so that's fundamental. That's been our issue from the time of slavery, when we were trying to escape the slave catcher in Africa, to yesterday.
Right.
All right. So that's a demand. That's, our politics are driven by that. Who's coming down on that, on either side, on that issue?
Right. Can we live, basically?
And can we live? Right. Can we exist? And then not the same, but running a close second behind that is, are we going to ever be given full citizenship? And the indicia, the marquee of full citizenship around the world is the access to the franchise, the right to vote, the unobstructed right to vote. Which
Right.
still today,
We've never had the unobstructed right to vote, ever.
and we don't have it right now.
Right.
We have rights on paper, right? But then we have southern states passing laws to make it more difficult to vote. Identification systems, where a college ID is not acceptable, but a hunting license is. That's neutral on its face, but it's discriminatory in its impact, and they know what they're doing.
Right.
In Florida, where I live, the governor, Ron DeSantis, taking away an entire Black congressional district that existed for over 20 years.
And still
changing districts, to closing down polling stations, to reducing the amount of days that are available for early voting. We have been obstructed. We are currently being obstructed. Our politics are driven by who's going to support the notion that we should have an unobstructed right to
vote.
the ballot box, right? And then livable, affordable housing that is unaffected or unencumbered by the issues of race. I think that speaks for itself. That's been our priority. That is our priority. The right to free public education that is sufficiently resourced. And we go back to the time, for time immemorial, it was illegal for Black people to read.
Right.
Let alone have a school that they attended. But when they begrudgingly gave us a school, it was a broken down, dilapidated one-room building, and books were the hand-me-downs. My parents talked about that, getting books that had the name of John, Jan, and Jack, and Bobby, and Harry, and Larry, the people who had the books the years before. So we need sufficiently resourced schools. We need adequate free public education. We need up-to-date technology. We need teachers who are competent and who care about our students. And we need curriculum that taps into our children's potential and challenges them and develops them intellectually. We also need equal standing.
What do you mean by that?
In the courts of law. It means that when we bring our controversies, that they will not be short-circuited through what is called motions or
and I have much I could say, but I don't need another 30. So
yeah, but I'm speaking in general, right? We need to.
No, I was speaking in general, but I do think, yes, you have a lot of these motions that circumvent our constitutional rights to a trial, jury trial. And it just seems to be these motions, especially when we bring civil rights suits.
Right.
They are, especially in the South, they are kicked out on these motions, not on the substance. Well, the motions are supposed to go to the substance, but really it's like, you have a right to a jury trial. Let a jury decide this matter, not a judge, not a single judge on a motion. It's really, it's offensive.
Right.
The way it
So
operates.
we need equal standing, and then when we, as all other human beings, because of our behavior, run afoul of society's norms and expectations, we need humane and restorative justice applied to us, like all other people, right? And we need to be able to serve on juries.
Right.
So
That's a two-way thing, though. Like,
tell us, what do you mean by that?
I'm saying we need to be able to do it, meaning that the other side, because when we go to court, the other side is always trying to knock off all the Black people. It's in a criminal trial for sure, even in
certainly been my experience in every trial that I've gone to, and most
except one, and it was a Black woman on the other side, and she didn't do it. But every other time they knock off, and these are discrimination suits, so they're knocking off Black people because they don't want our voices on there. Because they know that it's going to put in a different perspective that's needed. And so they want to have, a very absent, non-Black jury to decide a point of discrimination. That's not a jury of your peers. So they have that. But then also I said it's two ways, because Black people try to get off the jury too. Yes. So you come in there and we try to get ourselves kicked off because we don't want to do this. We can't be bothered. And it's like, you can't be upset at a verdict like what happened with George Zimmerman. But then every time you have a chance to go serve on a jury, you try to get out. These two things are connected. You have to be there to force them to force you out, and they have to give a race-neutral reason if the other side is awake. And then you need to go in there and you need to have a position and argue your point, whatever you see is going on from the trial. But we can't kick ourselves off, and we can't allow the other side to kick us off. And so it's a two-way street. That's what I'm saying. It's just like,
and I agree. We have to have many different perspectives in the jury room, and certainly when there are people of color, and certainly when there are Black people being tried or having their issues tried, whatever they may be, it's important to have Black people sitting as decision makers. And I'll leave it at that. And two more things, because I'm highlighting 7 things here that drive Black politics, right, and Black political activity. And I'm hoping that maybe Donnie Swaggart and Paula White and others who think they know or what Black people, the reason why Black people vote the way they do. And Black people are not monolithic. However, from the time of Obama through Clinton, as vote through most recently the vote with Joe Biden, Black people are supporting the Democratic Party at a percentage somewhere around 90%. And the reasons for that is not that Black people think that Democrats love them and are in for them and get the picture. This really is a vote against something. Right.
Right.
It's more of that, because Black people are voting against the other candidate because they see that candidate has either in his actions or her actions or in his words or her words manifested or demonstrated a hostility to the things that I'm talking about. And that's what drives Black political vote. But the other thing is the right to economic freedom. And that includes protection from all forms of discrimination, lending discrimination, healthcare discrimination, employment discrimination, governmental assistance to accumulate intergenerational wealth in the form of government-backed loans, low-interest loans, in the form of land grants in some cases, which all of these things have been provided to white people historically in this country by the government.
Right.
And they've been able to create wealth and pass that on to their sons and their daughters. And I'm not crying about that. I'm just saying that that's what we need as well in the Black community. And then lastly, and I've kind of talked about this already when I talked about the right to vote, the right to self-determination manifested in proportionate representation of Black leadership at all levels of government. In a state like Mississippi, where Black people are roughly 42% of the population, they don't have a Black senator or U.S. senator. There should be a Black U.S. senator.
Right.
In a state like Louisiana, where they've gone through where the federal court system had to tell them most recently, you need to create another Black congressional district because there's enough Black people in that state. And they fought it every step of the way. We say that we are democracy. We say that we are the beacon or the city on the hill for the rest of the world. But when it comes to Black people, we are not getting proportionate representation. And therefore, we don't have full participation in this democracy. And our politics are driven by this. Okay?
Right.
For those who care to know.
Right. Those 7 things. Exactly. We're just trying to make America more democratic, really. At the end of the day, all these things are saying you claim to be a democratic society, then let us participate in this way. And these are our demands, not the ones that Paula and Donnie are trying to put on us. We are actually trying to make America more American by these demands.